Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. This is another lens sharpness test that we're doing. I've always been curious, and I think a lot of you guys out there have also been curious. Could the 70-200 2.8 L lens with a Mark III 2x extender match up with the quite well known L lens, the 100-400 Mark II L? Because in effect you're getting the same focal length, except instead of just buying a standalone lens for 400mm, you're buying a 70-200 2.8 lens. So this is USM Mark II L lens, EF 70-200. This is the Mark II version, and here we have a 2x extender or teleconverter, and it's the Mark III version. And I've always wondered, can both of these produce the same results? So without further ado, let's jump on the computer and have a look. Welcome to the studio. We're assessing image quality. So we're putting up the 100-400 Mark II EF L lens up against the 70-200 Mark II EF L lens with a Mark III 2x extender. I want to see if image quality on the 100-400 is that much better than having the combination. Or are you better off using the 100-400 because it's just so much better? Clearly your autofocus on the 100-400 is going to be better because you're not having to use that extender. But I've always wondered, can the image quality hold up? So without further ado, let's just zoom in there. The first images are going to be 5.6 at ISO 400. Let's go 100% there. And it looks really nice and it just looks sharp. I don't see any problems there. Let's have a look at the combination. 100%. It just looks softer, and we seem to have a problem here with the circles. Just seem to be a bit blurred. So, and obviously we've got a drop in contrast as well, so you will need to up your contrast in Photoshop when you use the combination. So let's just have a quick look in the corners, see if there's any major differences at f5.6. So that's the combination, and that's the 100-400. One thing I will say is the 100-400 doesn't seem to be completely 400mm. It does seem to me to be around 370-380, not a true 400mm setup. So that's why it's not as zoomed in as the 70-200, because I think we are getting 400mm with that combination. But again, it looks quite sharp and reasonable. When I'm looking at these boxes here, they just seem a bit softer. And one thing I have noticed, I'll zoom right in there so you can see it at 300%. We've got a magenta tinge. Now there is a little bit of magenta tinge in the 100-400, but it's very mild, hardly noticeable. But you can see it there. You can see it there. And it's quite obvious chromatic aberration is there, which is colour fringing. That's not desirable in your images. So obviously that's the disadvantage of using the combination. So let's have a look at f8 this time. 100%, and you can see it's sharp. I don't see any problems there, and it just seemed to give us good results. Let's have a look at the combination at 100%. Have we got a improvement in sharpness? It's mild but not dramatic. The hue softness that I was seeing in these circles has cleared up a little bit, which means it's got a little bit better. Let's see if we've got any more sharpness that's appeared here. The chromatic aberration we're seeing before has largely gone. So when you stop the combination down to f8, we get rid of some of that, or the majority of that chromatic aberration. I think there's a tiny wee bit there, but it's almost barely noticeable. Let's go back to the 100-400 f8, see if we've got anything there. I don't think there's anything there for me to worry about. So let's have a look at f16 then. So f16 100 to 400, 100%. Looks nice and sharp, no major problems. Let's have a look at this pattern here. We're getting some pattern detail there, which looks good. And again, it looks nice and sharp. We are seeing some of the pattern in the box here, but that filter they put on the sensor is obscuring some of it, which is just a side effect of having one of those filters on the sensors. This is the EOS R6, if I hadn't already mentioned it. ISO 400, so we're using a remote, that Canon Connect app on my phone as a remote to trigger these. All image stabilization is off. Let's see if the combination gets any sharper at f16. 100%. I think we got a little bit of clearing of that softness that I was seeing, so it's got a bit better. I'm not seeing any sort of diffraction affecting the imagery either. Let's just have a look at this circle again and then compare it to the 100 to 400. See if there's any difference that I can detect. I think they're probably as sharp as each other here at f16. I don't think there's any major difference there, but certainly at the lower apertures there is a big difference in sharpness. Certainly chromatic aberration is a telltale sign of something being wrong at 5.6, but when you stop it down the lens gets better. So let's just go over here on the 100 to 400. It just looks sharper all around, you know, and obviously that contrast hit is a big difference. So that's my rough assessment of using the combination here. I think the 100 to 400 is less susceptible to chromatic aberration than the combination is, and it is sharper. The downside is you're not getting a true 400mm lens, where the combination does give you a true 400mm lens. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this lens combination is something that's useful? Let's just go up here into the letters and that we can see here and compare it to the 100 to 400. Again, this is at f16, just keep that in mind. Just see and compare them with each other. So that's 100 to 400, 200%. That's the 70 to 200 combination at 200%. At f16, I think they're very close, but at f5.6 and f8, they're not that close. And the contrast is a bit of a big deal for me. We do fit to screen, you know, there's a difference there. It's the same camera, same lighting situation, but you can see there's a big difference between the 100 to 400 and the 70 to 200. Anyway, I hope this video was a bit enlightening. For me, it certainly tells me I was right to get the 100 to 400 and not use the combination. And obviously your autofocus will take a big hit as well. So hope you found that helpful. So guys and ladies, you've just seen the results, and I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the standalone lens, the 100 to 400 Mark II, is sharper, but it's not giving us a real 400mm lens. I think it's probably closer to 370 to 380mm, while when we put the 2x extender on the 70 to 200, it does seem to give me 400mm. And it does focus internally, and the zoom is focused internally, while on the Canon, in order to zoom out, you have to push it out like so. The focusing is internally on this zoom lens. However, there is a possibility and a good chance over a period of time the zooming is dust into your lens. With the 70-200, it benefits with basically it actually zooms internally, which means the lens doesn't extend in and out. So the odds of this getting dust is heavily reduced. And obviously we've got the extender on there, and that gives us a readout of 400mm, and I do think it's a true 400mm setup with that. So the results speak for themselves. It's up to you to make your mind up what you think. But for me, I think we're losing contrast with this combination, with the 70-200 with the 2x extender, and it doesn't seem to be quite as sharp as the 100-400 standalone lens. And you know, obviously the results speak for themselves. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for watching. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you in the next video. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you still use this combination, or have you moved away from that and gone for a standalone lens like the 100-400, whether it be the Canon, the Sigma, the Tamron, whichever it is? Let me know in the comments what you've gone for in the past, and have you ever been tempted to get a 70-200 and carry a 2x extender around? But this is purely a video to assess image quality. Clearly the autofocus, and I've tested the autofocus in these two lenses because I've had them for some time, and I can tell you that the autofocus speed is quite significantly reduced using the 2x extender on. And obviously that reduces your max aperture of 2.8 down to 5.6, and obviously the Canon lens you know, is a 5.6 lens, so they're pretty much even Stevens when it comes to the aperture once you start using that extender. But then again, there is the benefit of having the 70-200, where at some point when the light becomes quite dim, you can take that off, and then you've got a 2.8 apertured 200mm lens that you can use from 70mm to 200, which will let a lot more light in than the standalone lens. So it is a compromise. So if you want absolute sharpness at 400mm, clearly this is the lens to go for. However, if you want the versatility of being able to take the extender off and use this as a wedding lens, as well as occasionally you might see something that piques your interest, like wildlife or sports, and you can pop that extender on and take some nice pictures. It's all requirements, I suppose. As a wildlife shooter, I want the absolute sharpness. You could sort of say I'm a sharpness junkie, really, because sharpness means everything to me. However, if you can, you know, if you're not too bothered about, you know, getting things tack sharp, and you can live with a bit of softness in your images, then, you know, I would suggest keeping this combination around, because it can be useful, especially if you're a wedding shooter and you do need a 70-200 2.8 lens. It gives you a bit of flexibility there. Anyway, let me know in the comments which you would stick with, which would you use on a regular basis. Again, these lenses can be adapted on the mirrorless Canon cameras, as well as still used on digital SLRs. I know digital SLRs may be on the way out at the moment, and people do want to get the new Canon mirrorless cameras, but a lot of you guys out there still are using digital SLRs, and you may be tempted to use an extender. Personally, I'm not a fan of the 2x extenders because they do slow down your autofocus quite a bit, but at a pinch, and when the scene doesn't require quick focus, sometimes you don't have to have the fastest autofocus in the world to film a scene. Like you might be at a pond, you know, filming some ducks. You know, unless it's something that's really fast, this should be fine. But obviously in fast environments where things are moving quickly, then you may prefer to have the 100-400 Mark II L lens, because it has slightly quicker autofocus. Don't get me wrong, it's never going to be as quick as a 500 f4L lens with their super fast autofocus, especially in dark situations. But if you need sharpness, I would recommend the 100-400. But if you can live with a little bit of softness in your image, if you want to use the 2x extender, you know, by all means, give that a try. That's just my opinion. Can be quite subjective. You may agree with it, you may disagree with it, but you know, let me know in the comments in a respectful way, please, if you don't mind. What would you go for? And thanks for watching, and have a happy new year. Bye bye.